Is the kingdom mighty sound?
What's up, Conexión? My name is Jose Show Hernandez. I am the lead animator for the Skins team at Riot Games, and welcome to my art animation portfolio webinar. One of the things I wanted to make sure I let you know is that we're changing up the format a little bit. Before, I was going to do a live demo reel review and have a bunch of guest people looking at animation demo reels and doing all kinds of stuff. But the format had to change. So what I'm going to do is show my demo reel, talk about my work, and I'm also going to show my old school animation demo reel from back in the day, from when I went to art school, so you can see some of the comparisons. So it's going to be changed up a little bit. So bear with us. We had to make this last minute change, and yeah, we're just going to sort of play it by ear. There's going to be a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions, just post them up on the channel and we'll get to them. But it's going to be very loose. So if it gets a little haphazard, please bear with us. We're going to just try to take it as it comes. But my name, again, is Jose Show Hernandez. I'm lead animator for the League of Legends Skins team. I've been at Riot Games for 10 years. I've been in the animation industry animating for video games for 21 years. It's hard for me to believe it's been 21 years. When I first started, it was back in like the PS1 days, and it was a long time ago. It almost seems like a generation and a lifetime ago. But I've had many titles throughout the year. Riot, I've had a title of senior animator. That's when I first started at Riot 10 years ago. Then I became the lead animator, and I was also an art lead, which is sort of like a art director type of person, and I was managing a cross discipline team, and I was the people manager for different disciplines, not just animation. And some of my superpowers is what I like to call it, and it's something that, yeah, for everyone that's making a resume, you can call them your superpowers because those are the gifts that you bring out there to the world. And that for me, it's gameplay animation, leadership. I've been a people manager and I've been in the leadership space for many years, for about like 13 years of my industry. I'm a specialist at hiring and team building, and I also do outsource management. I love to travel and I love to go do training courses and stuff like that. And public speaking and presenting is something that I really love to do, especially at Riot Games. I've had the opportunity to do a lot of public speaking engagements and travel. Before COVID, obviously traveling and doing some cool presentations out in public. You know, that to me, that those were really amazing times because we were able to engage with the players and engage with fans and sort of like be out there with everybody. Those are really good times. My Some of the skins that I've worked on, basically most of the times that I've been at Riot Games, I've been on the skins team the whole time. And for me, skins development was really like one of the things that I gravitated to at Riot Games. My first biggest project, or my first big project, was the Demon Blade Tryndamere legendary skin, and then I did the Tryndamere rework all at the same time. But I love that aspect of bringing a new character into the life of an old character, not necessarily inventing a new champion or even inventing a new video game, but giving another personality to an older champ. There's something that I like about that because it gives me a box to work in, and I like to have limitations. You know, I think limitations and working inside of the box, to me, that's what spurs on creativity, not this open-ended world or this thing of like no limits, you can just do whatever you want. You know, I like to have limits. I like to know where I can work at because that makes me be really creative. So a lot of the skins that I've worked on, it's actually a lot of older skins. I don't really animate too much these days because I'm a people manager, but I've worked on a lot of the old stuff. Pulse Fire Ezreal, the original one. I know he got a rework. A bunch of the Battle Cat skin lines were some of my favorite because it's like rope body, sort of mechanical. Again, Demon Blade Tryndamere, pool party skins, because I love going to the pool and I love being on vacation, and working on pool party skins is definitely that vacation vibes that I really like. Star Guardian skins, arcade skins, mecha skins, and I worked on a lot of wards as well. I love those little wards. They're a lot of fun to animate because they are very small. And again, that box goes like a lot smaller. The smaller the box goes, the more creativity and happier I am. Before I get started, I want to give a big shout out to the Riot Animation team. We have a Twitch stream as well called the Rat Animators. That's our crew. We do things like demo reel reviews. We have competitions. We do um, hangouts where we're just talking about animation stuff. It's a little community space that we've built out. That Lana Buczynski heads up a lot of that stuff. So I would give a shout out to her for being a huge part of that motivator there. And yeah, I work with a lot of awesome, talented people. And fun fact, we are hiring at Riot Games, and we're hiring all levels too. So if you're interested in becoming part of the Rat Animation crew, all you have to do is go to Riot Games website, and there'll be a Work With Us section. I think there's a drop down for art and animation. You can apply there. Again, all levels. We're looking for really passionate, creative people that can hang out and have some fun and create art with us. Um, so the one of the things that I wanted to also show you all before I go into my latest demo reel is some of the fun acting stuff. I was able to find these little videos that I'd created over my time at Riot Games because I'm sort of like one of those animators. There's different types of animators, but I'm one of the animators that likes to actually like do their own reference. I love putting on the camera and acting it out because for me that's the character coming to life within me. You know, I'm like my own puppeteer. And the more that I can connect with the characters that I animate, the better my animation is going to be. And I sort of like to animate things that sort of look like me or proportional like me, because it's to me that's sort of me. You know what I mean? So I was able to find a bunch of animated GIFs. Some of these are hilarious. I was looking. My screen is on the right hand side, and that's I was taking a look. If you look at the bottom right hand corner, it if you just look at this death animation, I was admiring this death animation. I'll play it full speed again, but it's just like it's overacted. It is like this ridiculous. Even when I fall, I'm like twitching around, like spazzing out and everything. Landing on the beanbag. To me, that's like the ultimate video game death. Is when you fall and you die and you're like you're acting as you're doing. And it's one of the things I actually learned about very early in my career when I was working on a bunch of Medal of Honor games, EA games. I was doing a death animation, and the death animation that I was doing was the character just falling down like they were sort of a sack of potatoes. Like all the life is taken out of them, and they fall down. And then I noticed, like as a player, you shoot this character, and it just sort of like deactivates and falls, like almost like a ragdoll, right? And it wasn't fun at all. And I was like, why is this like why is this not look like he's dying? Like it looks like a normal death, but how come it's not rewarding and fun? And that's when I realized, oh, this is like a movie death. These are like when you look at these Hollywood movies and it shows the character like dying like that, that's called acting and that's called performance art. And so and I take that into all of the deaths that I like. I love animating deaths for that reason because it's not just a character falling, it's this performance piece of this final like breath of energy that the character has, so I take pride in acting for my death animations. But yeah, it was a lot of fun creating animations and acting this stuff out. I love doing this, and I love that I have this animated GIF folder in on my computer that just has all of this reference, and it's something that I look back and it just inspires me that of this like animation career. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I wanted to share it. But let me get it over into the next section, which is my updated demo reel. And with demo reels, sometimes you can go a really, really long time without updating your demo reel. And a little shame to say, I went about 11 years without updating my demo reel, and it sort of makes sense because really you're only gonna update it when you're looking for a job. Uh, and when you want to have that updated demo reel to get you that. So since I've been at Riot the whole time, I haven't had any reason to update the demo reel. But as we're setting up and prepping for this event, I realized I need to update my demo reel. So thank you all for giving me the opportunity to finally update my demo reel for 10 years. And it was a huge endeavor because I have so many animations from League of Legends. It took forever for me to just find some animations, and some of the stuff is really old and not really up to the quality that I am now. But I added that stuff too, and what I did was added the animation that I created, plus I added the year, uh, so that'll give you context of where in what generation of Riot games was this animation created, and also to give context, all these animations are created in a production pipeline, so they're done quickly. They're not, I'm not sitting there working on this recall animation for a month and making it perfect. We're doing it in production timelines, which also plays a huge factor because that's what game development is. It's animating, creating amazing art, but doing it sustainably in a production pipeline and quickly, and then that's super important. So let me show you my updated demo reel from 2021. As I'm playing through, I might pause context. There is no music as well. For demo reels, you don't have to have music unless you want the music to be part of like the story you're telling. Uh, you don't even have to have audio specifically unless you're doing facial animation. You're just doing like gameplay animation. No music or no audio is actually a better thing because anyone viewing it, it's probably gonna little insider tip. But yeah, this is it. This is one of the last animations I worked on. Project Renekton. He had a joke animation where he's doing a skateboard move. This is from 2017 arcade brand. Uh, this I this is the presentation that I did last year for Last in Gaming, talking about the creation of the Luchador skin line. and that was done 6 years ago. I did this. I was part of the Mundo rework to do laugh animations, and there we go. One Mundo death animation, 2021. I'm still doing it. 2014, we have Draven here doing full performance. 2013, this is Jinx's one of Jinx's release skins. She's just like shooting sorry, let me pause it a little bit so I can. It's go really fast, but this is one of Jinx's release skins, shooting out champagne. I like to drink champagne. Sure, who doesn't like champagne? So for me, this was as well, and it was sort of just a fun skin to work on. And Jinx herself is a very animated character, so for animators working on Jinx, it's really fun. Here's a pool party skin coming up. I think that's one of the acting that I had. But this is a cool skin where he's throwing his jacket off. This was another death animation I did. Sad death animation. I think during that time, a lot of the players were like, "Oh, this is so sad," because it's the dragon and the dragon's pet, and then she's dead, and then the dragon's like curling up to her because her friend just died, and it sort of brings it brings very simple animation, but I really like the way it came out. It brought this like emotional aspect to her, and we got a lot of really good feedback. That's in 2015. What do we have next? Old school stuff. Another fun snow day skin with little Nar here. He's a lot of fun to animate for like jumpy. And here's Fizz again. This is another Yordle type character. Fun to animate because you can play with the squashing and stretching on that. Another arcade skin from 2015. This is sort of old school. But a lot of animations are like fast and quick. I decided to add some gameplay animation. I had a hard time figuring out what gameplay animation I wanted to add because uh, in your demo reel, it's sort of hard to add gameplay stuff because the game engine really changes your animations a lot. So some stuff that could look perfect doesn't look perfect because of the gameplay aspect. And I've done a bunch of gameplay, so I just chose a few old skins that I sort of remember that I liked working on. Flying animations, some combat stuff, and some run cycles. So yeah, so that, just to vary it up from like the and a lot of words. Again, I love these to animate words because they're sort of a breath of fresh air from the big giant character. We'll look at those words again. They're a breath of fresh air from the big giant characters, and they fundamentally give you that satisfaction because of the simplicity that they have. It's almost like the bouncing ball tutorial. So if anyone's that's getting into animations, you know what the bouncing ball tutorial is. Basically, the first animation that you ever do, where you take a ball and you bounce it, and you learn the arcs, and you have to make everything really nice. Words for me were basically like the bouncing ball thing because they were so simple. You really had to focus on how it felt when you press the button to activate the and I really worked on like making sure it felt really really impactful. Even if I only had four little controls, I'm going to take those controls and I'm going to make those that animation the best animation you could possibly. That's why it's fun for me to animate the small stuff like the wards along with the big complex stuff like the Project Renekton skateboard. Yeah, words are a lot. Where I did work on a little legend on. I did a couple of them, but this one it's just a it's just a very fun, simple interaction animation where it pops up and it's just like hi, like hello, I'm here, and there's a lot of really cool attitude and really cool personality in these types of very small animations. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come to Riot Games was because of the sheer amount of work that they're doing. And at that point, we were pumping out a champ every 2 weeks. Imagine that, a new champ every 2 weeks. But I love that. I was like fast-paced production, massive amounts of variety. I get to work on all kinds of stuff. Sign me up, and it's been an awesome ride. I'm just going to show the very first. This is my latest animation. Just show that once again. I really like the way this one came out because it's actiony and it just there's a nice like feeling. And doing the reference for this, like I was sitting there searching surfers and skateboarders and like looking at how kickflips are animated. And I get sort of get into the mode of surfer skateboarder, and that's what's the next demo reel that I'm going to show you is my demo reel from when I graduated the Art Institute of Dallas in December of 1999. So you know that this is old school, and but I wanted to show it because it shows a difference in quality that was expected back then, but it also shows what the difference of a 21-year animation career is. So anyone that's graduating school looking at my work and trying to compare it one to one with some of the high quality stuff that any senior veteran would be doing, or even Pixar, like it's great to compare it to that stuff. But also, they, seniors and people with experience, that stuff doesn't come over. And I thought I was a great animator, back in art school. My animation demo reel won an award for best animation demo reel graduating class, and they used it as sort of an example of like what good looks like for that space. But I look back at it now, I'm like, man, that is that is rough stuff. Without further ado, I will show you my 1999 Art Institute of Dallas animation demo reel. It even comes with old school static VHS lines at the bottom. I swear I didn't put them in post production or in Premiere or After Effects. They're literally from the VHS because back then demo reels and I had to at one point transfer it to a CD so I could transfer it to a computer so I could actually like edit, render it out in Premiere. Uh, there it is. This is my animation demo reel, and they gave us a template to use that was all fancy. Cool. I got my name on there with the logo. It was really cool. Here it is. So I decided to cater my demo reel to simple, basic. I made a couple of really boxy models, and I think I was into wrestling then, so a pile driver wrestling move, and make that look cool. And there's that skateboard guy. When I was animating this Renekton animation in 2021, I thought about the skateboard animation I had done in 1999, and it was fascinating for me because I was able to sort of like go full circle with it. And I want to do one of those social media posts where you show something and then they're like 20 years later, and then it's like you show the difference of like 20 what a 20-year career can be. And I think to me that's fascinating because 20 years later, I'm animating a dude doing a kickflip just like in my demo reel. And I think this is a part of a project that I had with a bunch of other people where they did effects. I was the animator, and I had this guy falling off the screen and falling down. And for some reason, I noticed that even in back when I first started in animation, I love to animate things falling on the ground. I love to animate death animation. I got that guy falling, and there's gonna be a couple other guys falling in the demo reel, but I was like, for some reason, I just like to animate deaths and animate people falling. This was literally my very first animation ever created in a class. Our animation assignment was there's a guy laying down and you have to make the person or make the character get up off the ground. And that was it. There was no other direction, no other guidance other than a guy getting ground. And the awesome thing is I was able to use that art school, and it got me a job. My very first animation. The legs aren't even in IK. The legs are FK. If an animator knows what FK and IK is, imagine animating a guy getting up off the ground with FK legs. And that's sort of I didn't know any better. I didn't even know IK. I just knew that he needed to throw his weight up and throw the right hand side. And then at the very end, I don't know why, he's looking at his watch and then he jumps back in. I don't know why. I just gravitated to that stuff. And then I got to, I was into inline skating. I did like aggressive inline skating. So I'm like, I'm gonna animate this guy and this like jump and fall. And then at the end he falls again. So like this whole like falling down has stayed with me for my whole career. I have no clue why that. And then we have our outro. We are using 3D Max 2.5. That is old, super super. But that's my 1999 that you can see, the difference in quality and the difference in the expectations. Again, this demo reel won away, and it got me a job within like a month after I graduated. And, those were very different times. Something like this can get you a job, but I think for the time this was pretty groundbreaking because of the choices that I'd made in my decision to keep it simple and to focus just on like these sort of actiony moves, because that was a very different thinking at the time. People were trying to do like cinematics. I didn't want to do that. I was like, I want to do guys falling down and making cool skate moves. So it stood out. It stood out. So yeah, that's my new demo reel. That's my old demo reel. A little bit of history, and we're gonna go into the next phase of it, which is the Q&A phase. We're gonna again we're gonna keep this super chill, very no expectations. We're just gonna jam and talk, and Zoram is gonna join us as well, and he's gonna throw out some questions, and we're gonna go back and keep it casual for sure. You can ask, "Hey Zoram, what's up? How's it going?"
Yo, peekaboo. My bad. Should have waited for my introduction. I apologize.
No, it's all good. Thank you for jumping in and helping out with some of the Q&A stuff. I know my first section here ran a little long. I tend to ramble when it comes to like, I obsessed about like my old demo reel when like the whole like I love to animate people falling. I have no idea why that's the case, but I realized that this year I was like I got like this obsession with like bodies falling for some reason. But I don't know, like I trip out on that. I think it's like super funny to me to think about that.
Well, I was gonna ask about your reels. Like, how do you structure them? Like, I mean, with your simple one, like it was just falling back to back. But what was the order? Like, was it what you thought was most impressive falling,
Well,
animations?
yeah, that's a good question. Usually for demo reels, for anyone creating a demo reel, the best thing you want to do is keep it short. You don't want a demo reel that is more than two. If you got a demo reel that's 5 minutes, you need to cut it, right? And it's also about showcasing the best, funnest, most impressive animation right at the beginning. You start strong and then you taper down towards the end, because realistically, a lot of people that are hiring, and I've been in the hiring space where I'm looking at, it's really about the first few animations, and that's what those first few animations. That's what's going to be engaged the most. We're not looking towards the end of the demo reel. This is all looking okay, but look for the last one to make sure. That's just not the nature of how humans treat any type of like presentation. So it's definitely structuring it for the best animation right at the beginning, impressive piece of art right at the beginning, and you're working your way back. And it's also structuring your demo reel on what kind of job you want to get, right? And when I was describing my school demo reel, the reason it stood out is because all the other animation demo reels, they were trying to do like cutscenes from like Metal Gear. They were trying to do like PS1 cutscenes, basically.
Okay.
And I didn't want to do that because I don't want to work. I want to animate characters on a computer where you press a button and they come to life, right? So I catered my demo reel to gameplay. So I think anyone building out any type of portfolio, ask yourself, what's the job that you want to get? Where do you want to work? What studio do you want to work at? Right? What type of work are they looking for? And then cater your demo reel specifically to that. And it's okay to have different types of demo reel. You can have a gameplay demo reel. You can have the cute and cartoony demo reel, a 2D
Mm-hmm.
demo reel. You can have a cinematic demo reel. It's better to have different demo reels than to have a bunch of different styles.
So, did you have like a end goal in mind when you make this demo reel? Like, did you know where you wanted to apply it at the time?
Well, that's an interesting thing because I'm trying to remember if I ever had a dream
Okay.
about like what am I doing here? And I didn't. I didn't have a vision of like where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, where I wanted to work at. I left myself open to whatever opportunities came about. And having that, I knew I wanted, the only thing I knew I wanted, whatever I do, I want to be the best at it in my field. I want to be, I want to stand out and be the most committed person, or the most committed artist in this industry. I want anyone that I work with to be impressed at my work ethic,
Mm-hmm.
and for me to be a memorable person. That was the most important part of my school. That was the most part of everything. But I have no idea. Partially because back when I started art school was 1997, so there wasn't a lot of the industry just wasn't that big.
Mm-hmm.
There was like before PS, it was like PS1 or something. So there were video games, obviously, but I was in Dallas, so it wasn't like I was in LA where we got Sony out here and everything. Dallas does have a video game industry, um, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Even when I went to art school, I didn't even know I was going to be an actor. I do know I have a very interesting or very cool story of I know the exact second like that I was going to be an animator. The exact moment I was going to like it's like one of those like oh, like I am an animator. It was really cool.
Tell us, yeah.
I'll give you the short story. What's yeah. So and it's in that animation demo reel. The guy getting up off the. It was the very first animation class. Before that, we were taking modeling class, effects class, all kinds of different classes. Took an animation class. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. Took the animation class, and they were like, "Animate a guy getting up off the ground." Didn't know I was going to be an animator. And then I animated the guy getting up off the ground. And for me, it was no big deal. It was a guy getting up off the ground. Well, and I videotaped myself with like a VHS camera, I think, at
Mm-hmm.
that point. And I'm like, all right, if you're getting up off the ground, you're going to throw your body, pivot, you're going to do this. And I'm like, now that I look back, that's the thinking of an animator. Like an animator is going to think about weight distribution and purpose. Why are you even getting up? That's the most important question. But I was doing that without even knowing, realizing, and I didn't know. And then the next, when we came back a week later and showed this animation to, we were basically, let's see everyone. And then I saw like my classmates work, and it was just like, it was an animation of a guy just like, it was like, here's my animation, and it looked like that, and they were like not good. They were funny. They were comedic and jokey. They were not like what a real animation was. Looking at, am I the only person like compared to this stuff that my stuff is like a different mentality, different
Mm-hmm.
level. And everyone, people would show their animation, sort of laughing because they looked really funny. And then when mine came up, and this was the moment mine came up, and I showed it, and everyone was silent because they could tell that this was not a joke. They could tell that the person that created that animation was an animator, and that's when I realized I was like, boom! I'm like, I'm an animator, and it was it still gives me chills. Like that gave me chills just talking about it because I think it's a very unique situation when you can find yourself in that epiphany moment of like knowing what you're gonna do.
Oh,
And yeah, it was mind blowing. I walked in an artist, I came out an animator from that day on that class. So,
nice. Must have been reassuring to like get that revelation. So at that moment, like, was your family full support? That's family and art don't usually go in sync synergy. How did that go for you?
well, I think I have a very unique situation, and I was raised by a single mom. My dad died when I was a year old, so raised by an awesome, strong single mom. Raised two kids. She's a entrepreneur, businesswoman. She does. She has an upholstery business. You can see I have a little shop back here that I got 4 sewing machines. So I do interior design and fashion design
Oh wow.
too. So I sort of grew up in a world of creation. Not, I wouldn't necessarily say art per se. I never viewed upholstery as art. To me, it was sort of like this sort of like dirty thing, like
Hmm.
in the shop. Um, but my mom didn't really care what I wanted to do as long as, again, I was put my heart into it. I had good work ethic. Whatever I did, I needed to be good at it, and I needed to put my do it well, right? And that applies to anything. I didn't care what I wanted to. And I also, throughout high school, I didn't really do much. And then after I graduated high school, I sort of, I went to junior college twice and flunked out of junior college twice before I started art school. So I went through a few years of like being sort of homeless, just living with my friends, discovering myself. I worked at a warehouse for a couple years. Decided to work at a warehouse party with my friends, but I still didn't know what to do. And then, and this was this. I told this story last year at the presentation that I gave for Latinx Gaming last year. But I connected with an amazing crew and they were all Mexican graffiti artists, and they actually showed me who was. They introduced me to myself as an artist, and that's when Show was born because they were called the Show Team, Street Hype One, the Show Team. And so they're the graffiti crew.
Okay.
And when I joined those people, my mom was all supportive because she knew that this was something that was I was passionate about and happy. And then for her, it was never about like you need to have a job that makes money. It was more like you just need to be happy. And then and the funny thing, when you're working on something super passionate about, that means you're going to be really good at it. And when you're good at something, the money will come. So that's what any advice I could give um, to anyone is that it doesn't matter what you do as long as you are wholehearted to it, and you will succeed. And especially nowadays, there's a paid professional gamers and we're making millions. You know what I mean? So like, it's different than the '90s. So the whole rules of like, you got to be a lawyer or even have a degree. Like, forget that degrees aren't even really that important these days anyway.
No,
So
don't
it's
say
really
that.
things are changing.
Don't say that. I just got my degree. No.
Oh
But I
no,
wanted
no, guarantee you need it. You need. I promise,
to...
it's gonna get you places. You
but
need it.
but that's good. Good, reassurance, make sure you're doing what you love and eventually you're
That's the most. Yeah, that's the
yeah,
most important. Mhm.
and you're a living testimony of that. So thank you. Thank you for that. Alvi
Thank you.
has a question in the chat for us. They asked, can I ask where your family's from? Because Latinos and technology, there's always like a
Yeah.
gap. Yeah.
So my family is from Nuevo León, northern Mexico, norteños, and it's from a very small town called Sabinas Hidalgo, which
Mm-hmm.
is about an hour from north of Monterrey. And it's a very small. It's one of those small wind up, right? So I was born there, but when my dad died, my mom did not want to. She didn't want to just meet a man because in Mexico, being a single mom with 2 kids, very different.
Yeah.
So she decided to move to the States. My aunt is in upholstery and interior design. She has a business, so she joined my aunt up in Fort Worth. So they moved up to Fort Worth, Texas, and this was in '77. Moved up to Fort Worth, Texas. So a lot of my family from my hometown, they've all moved to parts of Texas. I have family in Fort Worth, Dallas, Austin, Houston, San Antonio, Laredo, El Paso, in-laws in El Paso. I got family in Monterrey. We're all either from northern Mexico or spread out all in Texas. I'm the only person that was like, you know what? Thank you, Texas. I gotta go. I gotta go to California. I gotta go to the.
Deuces.
And I'm
Oh,
so glad
okay.
I did.
Okay. And we got another question from the same individual.
Yeah.
He says, they said, in Latin America, we do not have any universities teaching animation. Do you have any suggestions for people trying to learn by themselves, books, courses, and how do you create opportunities for yourselves and your portfolio?
Yeah, 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 that's one of the best parts about being in a course or in a university, and it's something that I is that community of like-minded individuals. And you don't have to go to school to have that community. What you do have to do is put yourself out there,
Hmm.
and join these groups, on Discord. Join the groups that you're meeting through this event too, and make those opportunities for yourself. Because not being in an official program, those opportunities, and it's that aspect of taking whatever is given to you and you making the most out of it is what applies. But it is more difficult on your own trying to. One of the things that I use, I call it the university. You want to learn how to do something. There, the information is there, right? All the information to become a good animator is there. You have to put yourself out there. You have to throw your work out there and demand feedback. Join groups, be like, hey, can someone give me feedback on this? Bug people. Don't be afraid to ask for advice. Don't be afraid to private message people and say, hey, can you give me pointers? That's the way that you're gonna achieve that, right? Because you don't have that community space, but you can create that community space for yourself.
Yeah, thank you. No, that makes sense. Just bugging people, making sure people know that you want
Yeah,
to
you
improve.
gotta sort of be annoying. There's no shame in doing that. There's no shame in asking for help. And some of the things that I see, with people that don't succeed is that they don't ask for help or they don't put
Hmm.
themselves out there. And or if someone does give them, they might get.
Yeah.
No, you are an open book, and you should be able to adapt to whatever the environment is and put yourself out there and be the product of the environment that you choose to be a part of.
Wow. Very eloquent. Yeah. Annoyingly professional. I could do that. I for surely could do that. You
Anyone can.
so you talked about critique and feedback. In your workspace now, like what type of critique do you receive and how do you choose what to implement, even if it's from someone from HR or someone from market, someone that may or may not have art experience?
Yeah, well, I can give you sort of specifics on how we give feedback on Skin's team at Riot. Just to sort of narrow a bit. But the way we do it, we have weekly, on Wednesdays. We actually had a review this, and one of the feedback cultures that we have on our team is that try to encourage this open feedback. Anyone can, an associate level artist can give feedback, really, really detailed feedback to senior level people, and anyone can sort of give their feedback. And it's a great way to encourage engagement, to encourage that community space. But it does lend itself to like, okay, you get 20 pieces of feedback on this thing, but you only have 2 days to work on it. Maybe some of the feedback is conflicting as well, right? Anyone joining Riot for the first time, they all go through the same thing. They're like, what's I'm getting a bunch of feedback. What's the feedback I need to apply? And some of the general rules. We also don't have this like heavy-handed approach of leadership where it's a top-down approach where it's like, well, just do what show says. That's not what I encourage on my team either. That's not sustainable for me to be managing every single piece of animation in the game. So what I try to do is encourage, to have a balanced approach in how you think about what a finished or final animation is, and try to also define what the word value is. What's the most value added? Value is sort of one of those words.
Hmm.
Um, so I know this is a very long answer, but identifying like what the part of animation. If you're working on a recall and you really want to make the beginning of it spammable, where it's like exciting, press the button. That's the most important part. It's not the very end of the recall, unless you're working on a recall where the end is the most shooting off into space and you're gonna do this cool thing and everything sort of leads up to it. So identifying where the most craft, is the most important part of it. Like, and then when you're getting conflicting feedback, trying to identify, does it support the value that I have chosen? Like, does
Hmm.
it support the beginning part? And even in all that, there might still be some conflicting feedback, and then you have to take the approach. how much time do I have? Okay, I have 3 days left. I can't change up everything. I can't do this. So when we give each other feedback, we always try to have that context. I have 2 days left to work on it. This is the type of feedback I've already set up structure and the general body language of it. Now I'm in polish phase. No, or now I want feedback on the hair. You sort of you try to
Mm,
compartmentalize the feedback so you're not getting all the feedback all at once. You get it staggered, and it's actually you're actually catering the feedback and building that structure that you can actually make.
interesting.
I think that answers the question.
No, for sure. Thank you. Wait,
It's a tough one, man. I still deal with it. I still try to figure it. And sometimes you have to make a call and yeah, I don't
yeah, I'm not a
not the most important.
yeah. Interesting. We got a question from Chemby underscore. They asked, "What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?" I think this is relating to art
Whoa.
criticism, or maybe just in general, however you want to take it.
The best the best piece of advice ever received.
Ever.
You know, ever. I mean, I think I've already sort of talked, but it's basically whatever you're gonna do, put yourself out there. Like whatever you do, own it, engage with it,
Hmm.
and do it in a way that is holistic. Like do it in a way that is multidimensional. That's what's going to make you stand out above the crowd. That's what's going to give you good work ethic of like when you're on the job, you don't want to. Whatever you do is going to be of high. So like just putting yourself out there with anything you do, and that's not just professional space, but that's in your personal life too. That's in any goal that you want to achieve. You want to like go the fullest, and that also works with like chillaxing and relaxing. Like
Hmm.
you work hard, play hard. Like if you're gonna chill and like you better like do it really really well, right? Dial in your movie station and get your snacks in order. Like whatever you're doing, be fully present in that experience, and that's something that's gonna help set you up for success in anything that you.
Professionally relax. All right, I could do that too. Where do
Hey,
you
it's all good.
where do you specifically look for like inspiration or references for your next skin, your next animation, etc.?
Well, it depends. I mean, I try to like inspire myself in my acting. A lot of times, I mentioned like I love to animate sort of look proportional to me. I'm like sort of thin and like sort of like light on my feet and can animate characters really well, like Draven. That's sort of like my body shape, right? But I
Hmm.
can animate heavy characters too, and female. Like I love animating too. That helps me. I get into that female mentality. Get whatever motions that up in the hair, having that like feminine. I like to do. I like to inspire myself a lot. I mean, I think that's a very like, egotistical way to think about it, but that's just in like some motion stuff.
Hmm.
But what I like to do as well is let myself stay curious and for example, like I look for inspiration wherever inspiration can be found, right? And I never say I'm too old to experience this. You know, I'm 40. I just turned 45 Sunday, right? I'm all on TikTok, loving TikTok, just like how the kids are loving TikTok, right? Teenagers love TikTok, right? I don't say to myself, oh, that kids. I love listening to new music, like brand new music that young. When I say kids, I'm talking, Gen Z,
Yeah, yeah. Keeping up.
listen to teenagers and college age kids, and I love experiencing new things, right? So for me, that's what keeps me young, first off, and it also inspires me and gives me ideas give me creative ideas because I feel like there's never a place for boredom. There's never a place for like boredom cannot exist if you keep yourself curious. right? And the moment that you become not curious, for example, say stuff like, I'm too old for that, you know, oh, that's kid stuff, you know. The
Hmm.
moment you go in that route, this is specifically for artists, you know, creative people, artists. The moment you go into that route, that's when you're away because you're now closing yourself off. So the main thing to inspire yourself is to always be open and always look at something with fresh eyes, like how a kid or how a child would look at it.
Hmm.
And then you're going to be open to these new ideas and thinking that only young people get to naturally, you know?
Yeah, that's true. You know, keeping up with modern day pop culture and using that and referencing. Yeah, thank you. People always overlook our generation and push us aside or disregard us. So that's good to know. Can you talk
Yeah.
about in your workplace, like when the team is streamlining decision making and the game designers are like, we need a new champion, and then the level champion designers make that champion. What decisions do you need to be made so that you could do your work efficiently and get to animating?
Okay. I don't work on the champion team, but the philosophy
Yeah.
working on a character is for skin on Legend. For animation specific, what the most important thing, and this isn't just champion development, but this is just storytelling.
Okay.
Animation is storytelling, and that is the most important thing. So when we're doing a character, creating a character, or making a model from scratch, there is a backstory that gets built out with it. And this is where a lot of the narrative people come in, and they actually write the books, right? So they give us a structures as animators that we can start to work with, and then on some of the backstory that's already been written out. Then what we as animators can envision in our head is, okay, this person or this character with this backstory, what type of body language do they have? How do they hold their drink? How do they walk? How do they breathe? And that for animation, that is the most important thing because the difference between a thoughtless walk cycle and a thoughtful walk cycle is very subtle, but it will make the world of difference with the definition of like who that character is. That will define the character. So the most important part is finding how to translate body language into a backstory, or how to translate a backstory into body language, and that's what animators do every single day. And sometimes an animator can stray, or they can put themselves in a situation finding their vibe with the character because they're missing that step. They sometimes I do this too. I get ahead of myself. I just start laying down thinking, and I do that a lot too. That's part of my workflow because it helps me get to the character's thought process. But sometimes you can forget that this isn't just a walk cycle. This
Hmm.
isn't just we call them idle ends. And basically, in League of Legends, every time you stop and you start, there's a character moment inside of that, where when they're running and they stop, maybe they do like thing, or maybe they're like character, or they stop and just like,
Yo.
like there's so many ways to stop, right? And that's sometimes if you're not thinking about that, the animation can look perfect, but it's off. It's off because you didn't think about what the person is thinking while this person was moving or while this person was stopping. So that's the most important part for animation: realizing the body language and realizing trying to figure out what the person is thinking throughout this animation, and that's going to create a good.
That creates a good
Mhm.
animation.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. Did Have you ever been in a motion capture suit? I would love to pay for that.
I've been in the motion. I've been in the motion dude. I worked at a smaller studio where we were doing some mocap work, and I think and we set up like a mocap room. I had the suit with the balls, and there was a treadmill.
Mm.
I'm sitting there running with in a treadmill with a gun, and there's like, all right, do a sidestep, step. That was a lot of fun because I'm a natural actor, so mocap was cool. I don't like working in mocap. Going to Riot It didn't work in mocap. It's all hand keyed. It's like it's the lost art of hand keyed animation, right? Because a lot of stuff is these days, not a lot of stuff, but there are some high profile titles. Data and motion. But I do like that I have had experience with motion capture because working with motion capture, putting on the suit, and also working with the data itself, like editing motion capture animations, they actually made me a better hand keyed animator. It's something that I didn't realize until I had started to work with that is understanding the subtleties of motion that are right in front of your face when you're looking at a human walking, but you don't really realize it until you look at the mocap. You don't realize how much a foot is like. The foot is actually a ball. They call it the ball of your foot, right? The foot is actually a ball and it's never planted. And a lot of times in animation, sometimes you'll plant the foot and you'll do the ankle will be that, but the foot is always sort of shifting, doing things like that. And it made me a better foot placement animator
Okay.
working with that mocap data because I was able to see I was like, whoa, everything's moving, nothing's static. And I took that into my hand key and I just became a better animator working with mocap. But it's not for everybody. There are animators that are mocap animators, and that's an art in itself because storytelling is animation is storytelling. But it's sort of motion capture cleanup and what you're doing is stitching together. It's a whole other career. It's a whole other thing. But I've done that, and I've also done this. It's this software called Accent Suit. I think it's Xsense suit or something like I don't even remember. It's a suit with gyroscopic sensors.
Okay.
So basically, it was really cool because you put on the suit and you calibrate it, and you calibrate it to the measurements of the arm, that, and then you can actually run around the office like it's a mocap studio, and you can do all the acting, and it puts it into the data. It's like motion capture, but it's not using the optical interface. It's using gyroscopes. It was really cool. The sense you had to wear. But I cherish all of those experiences working in all those types of fields. Even though I loved hand keyed animation, for sure.
We got a question in chat from Lanix in Games, the account that we're streaming on.
Yeah.
The question is, what have you done to overcome failure in the world?
Overcome failure. that's a good one. The key to overcoming failure is.
Sorry,
No.
you cut off there.
No.
We didn't catch that.
Oh, the key to overcoming failure is just to never fail. Dude.
Oh yeah,
You're
yeah.
always be perfect.
100%.
No. So this is sort of the classic thing of just like what they say. I don't say. I do say this, but come from me. But it's like success is built on a mountain of failure. And this is one of my biggest my biggest cores of the work that I do is first and foremost, you have to admit when you have failed. You have to admit when something was on you and you dropped the ball or you missed something. You have to admit that you can do better, and you have to own things. You can't blame if you're the leader of a group and there's some failure somewhere, you cannot blame, because of this didn't come in on time, or it's because there was vacation time around this. You're just making excuses, right? So what you need to do as a even if you're not a team leader, like a quote team leader, you are a leader of your own like worth of your own career. You have to own when things don't go perfect. It's always going to be your fault. You have to admit that, and you have to accept it, because admitting it and accepting it and owning every failure and saying that's on me. That's what you do to be able to overcome it, learn from it, and move on, and like adapt and learn what you can learn from it, take it to the next phase, and not and your goal should be that you don't repeat the same. And I can tell you a quick story of the one and only time that I got let go
Okay.
from my studio, and I vowed, I'm like, I am never gonna get let go again, and I
Okay.
never have. And it was basically my one of my first jobs over in Dallas before I moved to LA and got a job at EA Games. I worked in Dallas, and I went through a phase of I also and this was I learned a couple of good lessons during this time. I let myself get burned out of reasons because of other reasons of letting myself get burned out, and I sort of just like did not everything that I had done in school to like achieve what I did. I forgot all that, stuff. And I let myself get. I was neglecting my personal life. I was neglecting late. It was just like I look back and it's just a different person that was like performing at that point. And then we shipped our title, and I was so burned out they did let other people go first. They did let
I'm
you
sorry.
know, and I was sort of the first one to get in that space. And I think back to that, and I'm like, you know what? I would have let myself go too because burned out. I wasn't performing at top quality, and the only reason they kept me was because the fit job, the game needed to be finished. So I took that learning, and I said to myself, first off, I'm never going to let myself out. I'm going to prevent the burnout. I'm going to stay fresh, and I'm going to perform at highest degree. And my goal from then on was never get let go, never get fired, never get laid off. Getting not getting laid off, that's a big goal to have. Sometimes you get laid off for the reasons beyond yourself. But I learned a lot from that, and basically wasn't, and I owned it, and I realized it. And as soon as I made that mind shift that I'm the one that got me fired,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that got me let go during that time. And this was in the year 2000, right? Like 2001, a long time ago. I'm the one that got me fired. They didn't get me fired. It wasn't them. I'm in full control of my career. I let this happen to me. This is all my fault. I owned it. I learned from it, and I moved on.
Ah,
Skyrocketed. So, yeah. Ownership, same thing.
holding yourself accountable and not neglecting your mental health. So and holding your
Yeah.
yeah, okay. I like that how you own it. Like I got myself fired. Like that's a healthy. It could be healthy. That way you don't make the same mistake twice.
What I always tell people in is that you're always in control of every even though even when you're put in situations that are beyond your the only thing that you can control is the way you react to that, right? That's the only thing that you can control. You can control your emotion to the predicament that you're in. And if you take that mindset, you will always be happy. You will always be in control because you know that you are, you know, you're in charge. You're in charge of up here, right? And it's not to say that I don't get frustrated. I don't get, I get frustrated every single day with all kinds of stuff, and that's just a natural, but I don't beat myself up. And there are many things I like, all kinds of stuff, my professional life, my career, like just stuff, and I don't guilt myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and that's the main thing. You don't say, oh, it's all my fault, and you say, yeah, that's on me. Cool. Let's move on. There's a different way to think.
Mm. Thank you for that. I'm sure
Yeah.
that touched a lot of folks in the chat. I got a question about managing your team and delegating tasks and deadlines. Like, how do you hold your team accountable? Are there any software tools that keep you on the same page?
Um, Riot doesn't so it's a little different the way normally you have like here's your recall animation. There are tracking softwares companies use. Riot's a little different. We work more on the pod value based system of here is the work that you need to do on this skin, and it's not specific to the actual animation. So inside of that, though, and that's great when you're talking about like big picture value for a skin. It'll open you up to think about things other than just your immediate deadline. But it also sometimes cannot as challenging because the deadlines may not be actually reflective. So one of the main things that I try to do is challenge people in ways that will help them grow. Like giving them sort of a general goal of would be on an animation, even though we don't have tracking software. Try to give yourself an end date on this, because just knowing when you're going to be done is going to put you in a place of like seeing the end in sight, like beginning, middle, and end. Anytime you're working on any project, you need to know a few basic things. It's basically, what am I working on now? When does it need to be done by? And what am I working on next? When you can answer those three things, you are golden. If any one of those things falls, that's when you start to sort of get stressed. Imagine, be like, when do you need to be done by? A couple weeks, maybe. I don't know. You have this ambiguous thing, or like, or you know, even worse. What are you going to work on? I don't know. Like, you know, it's like, so you as yourself, you have to sort of give yourself deadlines, and you have to give yourself goals when a situation presents yourself where you don't have a deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of what I try to promote within my animation. Give yourself deadlines. You know, give yourself they we encourage ourselves to be self-producing. Basically, like, here's a big goal. Figure out the stuff inside of there. But it's always about like, what's your immediate goal? When do you need to be done by? So you can work on the next one. The next one. So there's not a clear-cut answer. I wish I could say like, oh yeah, we use this, and we do use a few pieces of software, but they're not very.
I see.
We don't do our tracking.
Hey.
But yeah, we use Jira. If you need a piece of software, we use Jira, Favro. Yeah.
I think I only have one more question, unless the chat squeezes in anything else. But going back to creating your video demo reel, you said earlier that you know, pick an art style and that lines up with the job you're looking for. What if you have like a variety? Yeah, what if you have like a variety of animations, like you've applied X, Y, and Z, and you just want like a compilation that talks about your entire catalog of art styles?
Yeah. You know, not there are, including myself. Like, I like to do a lot of animations. So if you do choose to have a demo reel that showcases gameplay stuff and some voice acting and some cinematics, try to keep it simple within those things. Like, choose your best gameplay animation, have it be one animation.
Mm-hmm.
Choose your best dialogue piece, have it be one dialogue piece. Don't let the demo get over. Still, don't let the demo get over 2 minutes. And so, if you want to showcase a variety you have, and again, the rule is put even within that variety, the best thing that you have, put it at the front. Always put it up. So it's like, don't like leave it as a surprise to the end. Like, oh, they're gonna be when they get through it at the end, I'm gonna wow. No. Put it at the front.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, if you have any final thoughts, or go ahead and take it over.
No, it's been great talking about this stuff. You know, like, I think I had a lot of fun putting together my demo reel because the nostalgia of, like, I recently had my 10-year anniversary this month. I'm having my 45th birthday was last, and then I put together this like a 10-year demo reel of work. So it was a really fun opportunity, and I want to thank your team and the Latinx Gaming and Conexión for giving and the motivation to finally, after 11 years, because it so needed to be updated. I really hope I don't
Mm-hmm.
update this. But yeah, it was a blast talking talk about this type of stuff, career development, anything you want, I'm always to chat for sure.
Oh, thank you for giving us this opportunity and teaching us and giving us some insight of animating in the game dev industry. Yeah, thank you for all those who tuned in. Have a nice day, everybody. Thank you, show.
Cool. Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Don't